Hi, my name is Dana Arnett, co-host of Wicked Marketing, along with my partner, Carlos Cepene. You can find more information about us and our business on LinkedIn, or if you have any questions, email us at info@wickedbionic.com. Subscribe to Wicked Marketing on Apple Podcasts and write an awesome review for us. We're also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play.
Hi, this is Carlos.
And this is Dana.
Thank you for joining us. Today, we're going to be talking about research and analytics.
Okay, it sounds really dry and really
boring.
And if my eyes start to roll back, I'll assume that yours will too, as Carlos talks about this, and then I'll bring him back and we'll all stay on the same path together, because truly, as somebody that wasn't interested in analytics or research before, it has become the foundation of how we do what we do as an agency at Wicked Bionic.
Yeah, and I think, as boring as it may sound, it really makes a huge difference.
Oh, it's everything.
Right? I think most people go about their marketing thinking that they know their audience, they know who they're going after. Let's just throw it out there.
It's working.
To them. It's working. It's worked before. It's going to continue to work. Not real.
Not
right?
forever.
Not forever.
Not forever.
Not forever. So you continually have to understand how things change. And the way that I position this to our clients when we're talking about the nature of research and analytics is think about your day, right? Think about today. What mood have you been in today?
Busy mood.
We've been in busy mode, right? So we've been running around like crazy. We actually didn't get lunch until 2 p.m. My mood was I couldn't even think about this podcast. Right?
Because we were so
because
hungry.
I was so hungry.
I snacked
right?
along the way, so it saved me. But now we're in.
So then think about that in a week span, in a month span, right? People's moods change. People's learning changes. The information that they gather from their environment, from the news, from things that are happening in the world, they change your core of what you're interested in, what you like, what you were interested in a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago is very different to what you're interested in now. So when you look at that as the nature of people, right, and that's how we are in a constant state of change, and you think about your brand, you can't set it and forget it. Right? You got to continually go out there and understand how your marketplace is changing, how the people in your marketplace are changing, what they're liking, they're not liking about your brand, what they're engaging with, what are those little nuggets.
And it's not just about dollars, right?
No,
it's not just about watching, the dollars are going down, therefore I must have to do. It's so much bigger
If
than
you're
that.
waiting until the dollars are going down,
It's too late.
It's too late.
Right.
It's really too late, because then you're doubling your work at having to lift your core back up and then build a new audience on top
re-engage.
of that.
Yeah,
and
it's hard to
re-engage other
re-engage.
people. And so the idea here is to use research and analytics to plan before that point so that it is an easier transition and a continual iteration into a better place for your brand, even if you just want to stay stable within your industry.
Right, and have longevity, for
and
sure.
have longevity within your industry.
So,
I'll give you an example.
Latino.
One campaign that we started working on recently is a Latino outreach campaign for a local service that wants to reach out to Latinos, and multicultural is one of our specialties. We've been doing it for a very long time. And what we realized about it was that in this particular case, there were, out of the 72 locations that this client has, each location offers different services.
That's right.
That are targeted to
that
Latinos.
area. Yes.
And they're targeted to that area. And some of these areas don't even have Latinos anywhere nearby. And a lot of these services, when we did the research behind it, are in-person services, are in-person resources, right? And they are targeted to different levels of income, for example, right? Because these services are very useful for people that are lower income, let's say, right? And lower income people tend to use public transportation more than higher income people. They tend to walk a lot more than higher income people. And this is information that we pulled from research.
Right.
So I actually pulled a Pew Research study that talked about the length in miles that people are willing to walk for services.
That's right.
So this is research that's out there on the internet. This is what Google is really useful for, people. Like, go out there and learn all these things from reputable sources like the Pew Research Institute, and take the time in that, 2 hours that you dedicate to your business a week to learn about these things, right? So make that time to dedicate it to your business. And so we looked at that, and it said 2.5 miles.
That was the average walking time?
That's the maximum distance that people were willing to walk for a service.
That's far.
It's pretty far.
It's pretty far.
And it's not crazy to think about that.
I hope that was round trip.
Yeah. In our placement strategy, what we did was first we identified the areas that have a higher concentration of Hispanics that are in that particular service within the 1.5 to 2.5 mile radius. And we placed out-of-home advertising in that area. Let's
define, because I remember at a day and time when I had no idea what out-of-home was. So what is out-of-home?
So out-of-home could be bus shelters. So, when you look at a bus stop and there's a poster in there, that's a good place to place advertisement if you're trying to reach people that take public transportation or people that walk, because they walk by them.
Bicycle, everything. I see them all the time.
They're trying to look away from other people.
That's where I know where the latest Netflix show is when I see it on the bus or the billboard. Yes.
Yeah. So we're increasingly becoming more antisocial the more AirPods and things like that are available. So we focus our attention other places, right? So billboards.
Right.
Billboards. The
train, or trains.
Yeah, people that are in the train, or train stations, right? If you're taking the metro or subway, buses. I would say buses is more outside of the buses and what we've seen.
Yes, on the outside for sure.
The inside of the buses haven't been as effective for
us. That's all. It's called out of home. So out of your home, when you're out of your home, these are the things that you see. So it's called out of home advertising, or OOH.
OOH is what we call
when you're riding fast.
Yeah. So the idea there is that we used research, right? And that's just one element of how we implemented that campaign. But we used research to look at using things like the census. Where do people live that have a higher concentration of Hispanics? Using things like a Pew Research study. How are these Hispanics willing to engage with these services?
Right.
And 10 other different things. How does this apply to you and your business? With research, what you're able to do is you're able to discover these intricacies of who you're thinking your target is. And then you can use different strategies to prove whether or not those tactics are valid for you. Now, one of the things that people tend to do, in particular in marketing, is think, we're going to put this message out because this is what I want people to know, right? I'm selling this, or my services are that. And they put it out there and they're like, let's just target Hispanics.
Right.
Which is something that you can do on Facebook. Of
course
right?
you can.
You can target Hispanics.
And you will find like 25 million people that you're targeting with your $100 spend.
Yeah, exactly. So it's literally you're dropping a drop of water in the ocean.
Right.
Right. And that drop of water in an ocean is just going to become...
Never going to see that drop of water, are you?
Noise, right? It's nothing.
Right.
So whereas if you take time to use your research to inform the strategies that you're going to put forward, then maybe you start going after 1,000 people that are within 1 mile of your business.
Right.
Or if you have the budget, 100,000 people that are within 5 miles of your business.
Or if moms with children are part of your target audience, and then instead of doing that nationally because you ship things nationally, you target Los Angeles or wherever you are, Wichita, wherever you are.
You choose a market.
You choose a market and grow from there.
You choose the public schools around that area.
That's right.
And you target them with digital advertising and out-of-home advertising. So this is all the research portion to then develop a strategy of how you're going to reach those people. And then the great part of it is that
this is the fun part.
Analytics comes in,
Right.
right? So yes, you put this out there. Yes, you try this out there, right? But then you have to track if it's working or not.
Yeah, because who wants to spend money for a year and go, hope that worked, but your sales only just bumped a little. So that's what's great.
And that's the thing that drives me crazy about a lot of the larger budget brands. They spend ridiculous amount of money with these huge agencies a lot of the time that are literally just ticking a box. They're like, we're going to target Hispanics. And so let's put all this money on the Hispanics. And there's zero breakdown underneath
of what type and
of
how do
what
they
type
consume
and how
content.
and what message is going where and how is that message resonating. This is not at all the agencies out there, but there's a lot of this, what is called waste, right? So in advertising, there's a term called waste, and it's usually allocated to fake traffic on websites, bots, things like that are not real people seeing your advertising that you're paying for. But there's also a lot of waste in misspending of your money and not optimizing based on what you learn.
That's why analytics matters.
Analytics matters. And analytics doesn't necessarily mean just putting Google Analytics on your site and then looking at your page views.
Because it ain't just about your website.
And it's not just about your website. So analytics means looking at a comprehensive view of the effect of your marketing out there. And if you're a mid-sized business or even a small to mid-sized business, you should actually work with a professional to do a lot of this. But there's a lot that you can implement both on the technology side as well as on the strategic side that can help you measure the effectiveness of your marketing. Otherwise, you're going to be spinning your wheels and spending your money.
Yeah, and it isn't, things aren't anymore like you place an ad in a magazine and it costs you whatever, $5,000 is probably more than, but $5,000, and then you don't know if anybody is coming in the store because of that ad in that magazine.
Well, think about it this way. How big was the newspaper when you were a kid?
Oh, it was big and thick.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah, Los Angeles Times. Right.
Bricks. How big is the newspaper? The Sunday paper, which used to be huge.
You know what? It actually hurts
nowadays.
my heart that LA Times newspaper is so small. It might be, I don't even know if it's 2 inches thick. And it's
so
just
sad.
because, and in the old days, you get the Sunday paper and your family would take all day to read all the sections. And it's depressing in a way.
Yeah. So we've evolved not only in the way that we consume information,
How we deliver it.
but in how we deliver it. Right? So you have to think about your business. How am I delivering that information? How is that information measurable? Because what did away with newspapers wasn't that the news stopped happening.
Yeah.
What did away with newspapers slowly was that the internet became an easier way to learn and target people. And same thing with magazines, right? It didn't do away with it. They both transformed into digital platforms that are ways to reach people with information in a way that is measurable to an advertiser.
The ones that got smart and were able to see that if they didn't go digital, they were going to die completely. And many of us know magazines and newspapers that we've read in the past that no longer exist. And, I think it's a fine balance. I was looking at People magazine at the checkout stand yesterday and whatever it was about, but I'm like, wow, People still here and they're online.
Yeah, but it's the size of a flyer.
Right, but their online presence is so strong too, the kind of content they're doing there. I'm like, they've made both. I mean, they're still there on the newsstand,
No, and people they were smart.
Yes, they
to compete with me early on at eOnline. But they are a solid platform on digital. They've been around a long time. They have a great social strategy. Kudos to them. Actually, the head of product for People is a friend of mine, or an acquaintance of mine, I guess, someone I work
with.
Colleague.
That's my favorite term.
There
When they're
you go.
not really a close friend, but you've worked with them, or a colleague.
Yeah, colleague of mine from Bravo. And she continues to
Innovate
within that brand. And so our point here is that what did away with newspapers wasn't only the internet, it was the fact that advertisers stopped spending on them.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them very publicly said that
Yes.
they would stop spending on the paper side of them, not on the digital side. And so the reason was that before you would do what was called canvassing.
Yeah.
You would have that ad show up in this whole area, but you didn't know who was picking up that newspaper. So you could be hitting the 65-year-old lady that picked up the newspaper, or you could be hitting the 15-year-old kid that's grabbing the newspaper
For the comics.
right? And you had this $10,000 watch that you were promoting, and it was just
Dying.
Yeah, it was just to everybody, and you had to spend a ton of money to do it.
Right. Well, and that's, I think, that Carlos's point, what we're talking about is that now it is all measurable, and you can see it's really fun when you go into something like Google Analytics, or if you have an agency, go in and talk to them and ask them to show you, because when you see these dashboards and you see, wow, there's 1,100 people on my site, or yesterday I had this much, it's really fun to see. And what do they do when they get there? That's particularly for a website, but same with doing ads and putting that out. We have
well, and that's the thing. As an agency, we merge the data from multiple places.
Yes, we do.
And so you get a broader picture. So it's not only what are they doing on my site, it's who's coming to your site.
Right.
Where else do they go?
Right.
What are opportunities for you to go partner with other businesses that are in line with yours but don't compete, where you can both grow from that?
So much to look at and so much to gain, and it's really, it's not something I don't go in there alone looking at your analytics, but it's really fun to really sit down and see what are your people buying, what are they responding to, and that by how many are going out. If you got 100 and you've sold 90, it's obviously something that might be doing well versus the thing that sold 10, but it is then innovating and thinking forward, how can I do that next thing that's going to grab them?
Well, and that's the thing. Either if you don't have the budget, find out about things like Google Analytics, Google Optimizely, which is one of the services that they offer. And I'll go into that a little bit really fast. But there are services out there, but otherwise your agency should be working with you on these things, right? Sure. So the thing with Google Analytics is the out-of-the-box implementation, right? That's what most people have, is just a piece of code that your programmer puts on your website, and then you start getting your page views and things like that. That's nowhere near as useful as you learning, okay, what are the events? What are the actions that people are taking on my website or my app or anything related to your business, your newsletter? What are the actions that they're taking that are leading to a sale, which is in our world is called a conversion, right? So Google Analytics has something called events tracking that allows you to track specific events, track them, categorize them, put them in a bucket, create a report out of them. So if you work with someone to set that up for you, then you can see those things happen. And going back to things like Optimizely, it is a service of Google. If it is implemented correctly, it makes it super easy and in a visual way for you to do something that's called multivariate testing.
Jesus.
I know, sorry. Our terms in marketing can get very complex.
I know.
But the idea is, think about the homepage of your website, right? And think about you're offering 3 products on the homepage of your website. Let's say that you wanted to test 3 different products at the same time, right? Because doing a test where you offer 3 products one month and different 3 products the next month.
There's 60 days have gone by.
Zero value, right? Because of what we talked about early on in the podcast of how people change their moods and their wants and their needs and things like that, right? You want to test them at the same time. In the past, that would have been super costly, right? Because you had to have your developer develop the code. With Optimizely, you can literally, it takes like 5-10 minutes, and you have Google replace the elements on your website. So when Dana comes at 10 a.m., there's the first set of 3 products. When I come at 10:15 a.m. or 10:05 or 10:01, whatever, I get the other 3. And the multivariate testing works. You can set it for a month, for however long you want. And then you get a report that says, this is how many men, this is how many women, this is how many clicked on which product, this is what product combination was working. Now imagine if you grabbed those 3 products and those other 3 products and you made them continually switch out, position, things like that. And all of a sudden in a month, you could tell, oh my God, this product, when it's placed on the first box, sells 10x what it sold on the third box.
Isn't that the craziest thing?
Wouldn't that completely change your strategy?
Right.
Right? If you're going to sell me a product for $5 and on box number 1, it's going to make you $500 a month. And on box number 3, it's going to make you $5 a month. Wouldn't you want to know that?
Yep. For sure.
So that is the magic behind data and analytics.
It's so, I hope you guys get or you all get the idea behind it. It's just, we're always, what I love about marketing nowadays is exactly what I said before about it's all quantifiable. It's super fun to be able to see what's working and what's not. And that's why we love working with clients, because it's so fun to watch Carlos work when his head is into the analytics, because I can see him thinking, okay, that didn't work that way. That worked that way, and then crafting that next move. And it's super fun. And then the client does well, and you're like, oh, awesome. And then we're on to the next.
And that's the thing. If it isn't your thing, get someone whose thing it is.
Because there's a lot of people out there that they love that stuff.
Because if you have a business, which should be your thing, and this is something that Dana loves, is money.
and we'll end on the fact that Dana loves money.
Dana loves money.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to and share Wicked Marketing on Apple Podcasts and write an awesome review for us. We are also on iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Google Play. See you next time.